Good morning, everybody. I'm going to get a bunch of streams going here. Instagram is connecting with my streaming software in a new way, so I'm just going to beg your pardon for a few minutes here. I will attempt to do something very fancy, which is play a video of this. I hear sound or not. That's the next experiment. But this is a video what you're seeing on Facebook and Instagram, the highlights from the last expo. While I just make sure the streams are up and running. So let me know if you guys can hear any sound on any of that, if you don't mind. Give me just a second. All right, looks like you guys can hear me, but no sound on the video, huh? Give me just a second, everybody. Give me just a second, guys. Streaming live in just a second. Ooh, sound, nice. Super quiet. Sorry about that. All right, guys, we're almost ready to go here. Okay, everybody, let's get this show on the road this morning. All right. All right, everybody. Good morning. I am Nick Slavik. I am the proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It is a weekly live social media show. We have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, all the feeds going right now. I'm looking for comments all there. This is going to be a lot of fun this morning. I got some updates here to share with you. And then I'm going to be taking any of your questions or topics. I got some hot data that I've been tracking from my own company. Lots of exciting stuff there. Some weather updates, some company updates, all that other stuff. So I'll be watching Instagram. I'll be watching Facebook. If you guys have a question, if you have a topic suggestion, if there's anything you're interested in talking about, let's go for it, because I got my Google Drive up. I got all my analytics, and I can probably share some data and some feelings. Take a second right now and share the show. Put it in your story, put it in your feed, just get it out there. It's the kindest thing you can do for me. We're here, we're giving up a little family time, all of us, on a Saturday morning, and for some free content. And honestly, it'd mean the world to me if you guys share it out there. So I appreciate that much. Let's see. Oh man, we got lots of people watching on Instagram this morning. Good morning, everybody. Lots of familiar faces up here. See what we got going on here. Looks like the sound was coming through a little bit. McKinty repainting. I talked to Moose. He's getting done. I want to be like that and get paid sponsorships. Oh, interesting. Somebody wants to be You want to be an influencer, huh? Yeah, that's interesting. So honestly, that's a really good topic here, which is some people see me and others here on the internet posting content, being sponsored, being underwritten, and things like this. And I will tell you this: the easiest way. It's a very interesting sort of thing. It's a very seemingly sexy thing to do as well, but it is a business, and there's a couple ways that you can gather the interest of people who want to use you for advertising or getting your word out there. Number one is quality of content, core values, um, rigorousness of your followers or number of your followers. Now, if you can do all of those things, if you can have a huge following, just rampant fans, rabid fans that follow you, and you do very high quality content and have a set of values in which you do them, that's the easiest way to do it. But you need to position yourself as one of those people. And the only way you're going to gather that sort of ravenous fans, things like that, is you got to be a subject matter expert, right? If you've been painting for a couple years and you haven't grown a large business, you're not going to be able to add that value. If you haven't tried all the coding systems, all the tools, if you haven't created SOPs, if you haven't done a bunch of that stuff, that's what these people are looking for. They're looking for subject matter experts. They're not looking people who can stand up and just hold a can of paint up or hold a tool up. They can get anybody. They can get somebody in their office. What you have to do is offer a unique value proposition. And typically, my ethos when I deal with other businesses is this, which is when I deal with homeowners, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of listening, there's a lot of things like that. And you have to be invested because this might be a passion project for painting their house. When you're dealing with a business, largely people want you to solve a problem for them, right? And they want you to solve it in the easiest way possible. So number one of the value propositions that I give, now Ask a Painter is a brand unto itself, and there's 4 verticals in there. One is content creation, one is this show, one is events, and then one is public speaking. And those are, there's production rates. There is a separate checkbook, a separate QuickBooks, there's separate marketing, there's everything else, because I want to give a professional experience to the people who choose to trust me with their brands. Now, number one, the brands have to align with my core values. They have to be things that I have experience with, that I believe in. I don't do it just for everybody because I don't need to, right? And my value to this industry comes in the trustworthiness, which is I've been doing it a very long time. There's very few people who love this more than me, who have tried the things I've tried, both in business and coatings. I'm not the best. I'm not the quickest. I haven't done everything, but a combination of plumbing the depths of entrepreneurship, of coding science, tools, and all those together, and somebody who has the ability to broadcast that over the internet fairly cogently. That's all a value proposition. So it doesn't mean I'm the best. It just means I combine enough competencies in enough areas to make it worthwhile. The other add-on that I put onto there is when somebody wants me to create content, do shows, things like that, I take care of it. I give them a concierge level thing, which is I will break myself to make sure that there's value in this stuff. There's trials, there's errors, there's revisions, there's things like this. So when you guys see a three point story set on Instagram, sometimes that's 4 months of back and forth and revisions and reviewing from my people. So it's a lot out there. And so don't think that somebody's going to give you $100,000, send you a tool, you hold it up and it's like, wow, geez, I'm an influencer now. It's very involved. It's just like a painting project. There's no easy money in painting. You have to earn it. You have to create value for your clients. The same way that we do it in sort of I don't want to use influencing like that, but the point of the PCA, the point of my painting business, and the point of Ask a Painter is to gather the most influence that it can, so that when my paint company puts an ad out there, it has trustworthiness, promptness, professionalism, and that sort of influence out there for my clients. And with Ask a Painter, I want that, which is I want influence. I want to be able to make this entire industry better in some way that I can while I have the time to do it. So, all right, that was awesome. I love that stuff. McKinty, good luck out there. I know you can do it. So, all right. What else we got here? Love that. All right, everybody. I got some updates here. If you got any questions, any topic suggestions, post them down there below. This last week, I had a list of about 14 things. I whittled it down a little. We only got to like number 1. You guys had so many great questions. But what we're going to do is I'll show you. We got some event updates here. We got some data from the company, some other updates, and then we're going to go for it here. So, all right, I tell you what, let's see. Colorado Painting Company. I see your question there on IG. I'll get to you in just a second here. Events. All right, so I'm going to hide that screen. We're going to get fancy and start sharing screens here. Here we go. All right, we got some events, folks. So, Gathering of Minnesota Painters, the flagship group in the nation. We got 450 contractors in that group. We can get 100 people together regularly. In Chanhassen, 25 June, we're having our summer social with Handy Paint Pail and Company and Isaac, our good friend over there. The retreat is coming up in August. That is filled. I just got a big shipment of merch for all you guys that I'm putting together up here. We got some very special, unique things. Pieces of things you can wear that have never been released before there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We got PCA and Espanol, 12 to 13 September in Anaheim, California. We got Tom Reber's Mile High Profit Summit. I'll be doing a workshop there, 19 September. SoCal, SurfPrep Masters Class. It's going to be me and Christian Moose. Christian Manhard. We're going to be there, and me and the SurfPrep people and PCA are sort of ideating a multi-day event right now. So this might turn into something quite large. And I will tell you this, even if you're not from that area, if you're going to go to some events this year, I would fly in for that one because you have probably never experienced humans of the caliber of the family that runs. So I just happen to be wearing my SurfPrep shirt because they make very good shirts. The caliber of the humans that run that company is inspiring, and they've inspired me to change things in my company. So, yes, they have world-class sanders. Yes, they have world-class business operations, but being around those people and other killers in the industry is very inspiring. So Women in Paint, 8 to 10 October, Hollywood Beach, Florida. That's going to be a fun one. PCA Residential Conference, 24, 25th October. I have one of the coolest special things to announce about that. I can't announce it yet, but it is one of the coolest things that I could ever offer this industry with the PCA. We're still making final arrangements. More to come on that. Gathering of Minnesota Painters, our big flagship event in December. We tour the Graco factory, see the robots, Sherwin-Williams there. Last time we had 110 contractors there for a gathering group. It was amazing. So looking forward to fill that up again. And then, of course, the Expo. The Expo in 3 to 7 February. I will tell you guys that literally this is our Super Bowl. You do not want to miss this one. Every year we say that. Every year it gets better. I showed you guys the preview video there. It is a pretty substantial thing. You will probably not ever get a chance to be at the historic Broadmoor in this fashion again. Our event staff and our executive director pulled out all the stops, and they found us a 5-star historic estate to have this on. It's likely we won't have another chance to do this again. So if you want to talk about unique events, that's what you're going to have to go for. And that is our Super Bowl of the industry. I would just urge you guys again, if you had FOMO on the last one, you're really going to get it on this one. It's going to be an absolutely awesome time. So, all right, I'm going to troll for some questions and comments right here, and then we will get back to we'll get back to some updates from my own company here. So, all right, Colorado Painting Company. Love your logos and branding, by the way, from Instagram. What is your process for filling nail holes on new construction? Is there a difference in your approach when it is MDF versus real wood? I do not. So here's data and feelings. The data and the feelings are, there's many people I look up to in this industry that use red Bondo spot glazing putty, right? And I know it's good. It's hard. It sands relatively easy. It's very finely made so that you can sand it very smooth. The problem is that it shrinks, and you usually have to do 2 passes, which is a ton of work. And then it's also dark red, so sometimes it doesn't cover with other things. So honestly, my approach to filling nail holes in new trim and cabinets and things in new construction, I have done everything. I've used +3 mud. I've used spackle. I've used wood filler. I've used real Bondo. I've used spot putty. I've used epoxies. I've used everything else. And honestly, you'll get all these things about like, hey, don't use drywall mud. Don't use 3M spackle. Don't use all this other stuff. And I will just say why. Why? It doesn't need to be structural. You're not going to tap it. It's a tiny little pinhole that you're going to fill. And honestly, What I've done over the years is with nail holes on new construction, we've used some of the best stuff we've used is 3M high strength hole filler or any of the derivations of there. Great putty. We mix a little bit of blue drywall tint in it so we can see where they are. And we basically do a finger fill. I don't necessarily like to use a putty knife because you just put so much on and it's just more sanding. So I like to just take a whole finger filled of that blue tinted putty and try to push it in the hole, mound it up over the hole. And honestly, when you sand that stuff, it does not shrink. It sands perfectly smooth. I like rigid 3M sanding blocks, rigid SurfPrep sanding blocks, or an actual block of wood or one of those rubber kind of half round crescent sort of sanding things to actually make sure you're getting it flat. And honestly, that stuff looks great. It doesn't really flash either. So if you happen to find a hole you missed after primer, you can go 2 coats of a really good water-based or hybrid enamel over the top of it, an architectural coating, and it doesn't flash. But typically, what I like to do is you get in there and you dust off everything, clean everything off. Right. I like to go right to filling right away. If I have my druthers, sand that off, and then we prime everything, and then we go through the SVT process: sand, vac, and tack. Then we do all of our caulking. I like to caulk over primed surfaces. And even though a lot of the millwork nowadays is like finger jointed poplar or pine, and then they throw some primer over it, that really isn't primer. They call it pre-prime, but really what they do is they put that watery white, almost see-through coating over the top so you don't see the finger joints. They're not doing you a favor in pre-priming. They just don't want to show you that it's a bunch of finger jointed scraps of wood that go into this very expensive piece of trim. Um, so yeah, I like to patch, I like to sand, I like to prime, I like to SVT, and then I like to caulk over the top of that. Now for MDF versus regular wood, I don't change any of those processes. I will tell you this: I almost never ever get bare MDF anywhere. We don't get bare MDF cabinet doors. We don't get bare MDF trim. Things are usually pre-primed, especially when we're talking about architectural millwork. So really, to me, it's a fairly sealed surface. We just go right over the top of that stuff. Um, if we were if we were to take the step up and do a slightly higher end finish, I would end up using some wood fillers. I just don't like things that shrink because the labor is the expensive part. And even with the red glazing putty or the spot priming putty, it's fine. You can sand it nice, but it still shrinks. And there's a whole bunch of really awesome 1-part wood fillers that dry super quick, and you can sand, and they're super, super fine. And they're fairly rigid too. So I trust a lot of the people. I mean, there's people that are much better finishers than me that swear by this stuff. So I have to default to their expertise. But I will say in the end, I like to do stuff on first principles reasoning, which is everybody uses this. Some of the people who do the highest end finishing in the industry use it. In my experience, it's not accomplished the things that I want to. Mainly, I don't want to go through a house and fill 10,000 nail holes, sand them all, then have to fill them all again. Things like that. I want to keep my price relatively in line with new construction. New construction is and remodels are typically a low margin endeavor anyway. So you just have to make sure that you're kind of matching that. So all right, thank you for that, Colorado Painting Company. Appreciate that. If you guys have any other questions or comments, you let me know. Looks like Steve Lockwood from Facebook, good friend Steve, is watching from his boat this morning. That's awesome. Don't know if you're fishing, don't know if you're recreating, but let me know if you're out there. If you are fishing, let us know if you're catching anything out there. All right, let's start hitting on some of the stuff here that we're doing. We have four things that I want to talk about: leads versus recruiting, interest rates, gallery clear, Sherwin-Williams gallery clear, and fleet replacement. I think we'll go gallery clear. I haven't talked about an actual painting thing for a while. So for the last 6 months, we've had gallery in the shop. I've been doing a bunch of content creation for Sherwin by it. It's a very impressive product. I like that it's the next level of high science coatings that's readily available to everybody else out there. So I know that between like Renner, Ilva, all these other things that people use all over the place, Centurion, I know that people swear by this stuff, and I love this stuff. We have all those in my shop. Actually, we got an order of Ilva. We got some Centurion in there. all this stuff. But I will say that there's pluses and minuses to everything. And people like to pick coating companies and types of coatings, like they talk about Ford versus Chevy, or they do sports teams. And a lot of it is really feelings based, because all these coatings are really substantial coatings. I will just say this. We have a table that we're redoing for a client. It's a really, really well-made table with inlays in it. They want the edge kept natural, and they want the field, a raised portion of the interior painted black. And I thought, well, let's just bring out one of these, high science coatings, or a combination of them. And so what we did is we had one of our craftspeople touch up the edge with some stain, because it just got nicked in a few places. And we put a coat of Gallery 20 sheen over the top of that. And we checked it for adhesion. We checked it for, depth and beauty and things like that. And that stuff adhered perfectly. It was just awesome over what's probably 20-year-old, probably nitrocellulose or pre-cat lacquer, give or take. And it was awesome, because I'm really one of the things that I'm still leery about with a lot of these high science coatings is for all the benefits they have, they do have some detractions as well, which is you can run into some pretty funky chemistry problems and adhesion problems too, because you're really messing with the boundaries of like water-based, solvent-based, a combination thereof, catalyzers, reducers, thinners, thickeners, all this other kind of stuff, cross-linkers. And I don't know that everybody has a great grasp on the science. From doing this for 30 years, I can approximate by how it feels and how it looks, kind of what's going on there. But still, I don't know that it's been explained to me in the best way either. So all I know is that they have pot lives. They are a little bit harder. Sometimes they look a little better, but yeah, we've just been experimenting. So what we'll probably do is use the Gallery Clear on the edge, which is looked absolutely wonderful. And then for the field, I think we're going to actually use a tinted Ilva product with some catalyzer in it. I just want to give this client, pull out all the stops and do something, even if it's only 5 to 10% harder than the typical coatings we use. It's still something that will wear a little better, because it is black and it is a tabletop. So I would love to know. I would love to know from you guys. If somebody brought to you a 20-year-old table that is very, very well made, and they wanted the top redone in black, what would you do? Would you do one of the new high science coatings, the 1K, the 2K? What process would you use? What primers would you use? Would you put a clear, a catalyzed clear over the top of it? Would you go to old school conversion varnish, things like that? I would love to know if you guys got any suggestions in there, and I'll keep you guys updated on the table. Steve, fishing, not catching anything. Awesome, man. Yeah, boy, I wish you could share some video or pictures. I'm sure it's just beautiful out there. And yeah, if you do catch something, keep us posted. I'll be curious to follow along with you there. So, okay, we'll cross the Gallery Clear table off there. Fleet replacement plan. So my beloved vans are getting a little old, folks. They're awesome. They're still working very well. I absolutely love them. But as the visionary of the company, you kind of have to stay ahead of these things. So what's really interesting, I'm going to pull up my matrix here. And I've been ideating about this for about a year. I've been laying the groundwork for it for about 6 months. Financially, I had to make sure that we're all prepared for that sort of thing. When you start on and I'll pull up my spreadsheet here. When you start in on a project like this, it's like, well, hey, get a new vehicle. But the problem is we have 20 vehicles in our fleet, and you have to be super sort of like intentional about this, because you're adding a lot of debt to the company in a certain way. And I really love to try to keep as debt free as possible. So what I'm going to do is share with you guys my ideation process here. And I basically laid out a bunch of options here. We have our plan here with all of our vehicles listed, a 4-year plan, and when we were going to phase all them in and out. I also have a 5-year plan here as well too. And then I have an auto loan calculator to make sure I'm taking into account, tax, title, license, all that other good stuff too. So all that stuff is very important to me, to make sure that we are doing the actual right calculations. Because if you forget to add in interest the correct way, or tax, title, and license, what you could end up doing is in a 4 to 5 year plan, being off $200,000 to $300,000 in debt, and you don't want to do that. So Areli Soto says all Tesla trucks. Absolutely not. I will not be doing that. I will be doing something. I will find the Google of the work vehicle thing. Obviously, I'm dancing around with Chrysler vans again. Ford Mavericks have really caught my attention. I really, really like that stuff. Also, there is all the transits and those vans and stuff like that, but I just never been impressed with those. So what you do is you get this commercial vehicle. Hey, Pookie. How's it going? You get these commercial vehicles, they're completely stripped down and they start at $35,000. And I just for the life of me cannot figure out what the value of those things is. I think they're more expensive because they sell them to businesses and they might make less of those. So I think that's the thing. Good morning, baby. You want to join me? All right, I got a couple more topics and then we're done here. So basically what I did is I lay out the cost of the new potential vehicle and I put in a phased in plan, either 4 or 5 years for my 20 vehicles. And one of the things I'm doing is starting over with first principle reasoning, which is what type of vehicle do we need? Just like I did with vans. Everybody drives trucks and these big, 1-ton vans around. And I said, you know what? I think we can get by with passenger minivans and they can fit 4x8 sheets of plywood in the back and they're super utilitarian, roof rack, everything else. And so basically what I did was 4 to 5 year plan. And I just put some assumptions in here. I don't really know what vehicles I'm going to get yet and replace, but basic assumptions. And then what I did was I looked at in the past, I've done it when I grew my initial fleet. I did a combination of cash and financing, and this time it'll likely all be financed only because it's cash is like, if you want to call it the extreme option, you get a big dump of cash right there. And really what a consistent professional business does is it'll have a consistent payment over the years. So what I want is I don't want to take in debt, but what a professional company does is manage that in a way where it's a consistent amount of payments, nothing for 3 months and then a $35,000 drop right there. It's just consistent as we go along there. And so what I did was I looked at in the past what some of my auto loans were, what some of the rates were. And the most interesting change in all this is when I grew my initial fleet, used car prices were almost nothing. And the interest rates, like you can see here, one of my past loans is 4.5%, give or take. So it's not as easy as it is anymore. Everything is more expensive, especially the new car stuff. Now, I'll show you the downside of making some thumbnail sketches here. So I had envisioned about a $500,000 investment over 4 years in redoing my fleet between outfitting, purchasing, tax, title, license, all that other stuff. It's the same investment, but over 5 year, your vehicle payment goes from $564 a month to $451 a month. And now when you have 20 vehicles, that adds up to a lot of money. Now, when you actually put this stuff into a loan calculator, I had a meeting with a bank president this last week just to make sure that all my assumptions were right. And he kind of cued me in that this is going to be very much more expensive than I initially thought. So you can take some basic assumptions, run your stuff up here, basically taking on about $120,000 per year of auto loans out to replace them. The true cost ends up being something quite a bit more, which is, you're going from a 487. His sniff test was 640,000 over 4 years with everything all in, with a vehicle payment of 741. This is all in. This is interest. This is, a tax, title, license, and all this other stuff. So now what I'm trying to figure out is, that's a lot of money over those years. We do need vehicles, but now we got to start first principle reasoning, which is that the highest use of that money? What do we need? What do we have to get? What would be nice to get, and all that. So, it's going to be it's going to be a multi-year approach. So the good part about this multi-year approach is that we're going to test out a few vehicles. We'll likely get some vehicles into the company later this year, give them a test, and then see how they work. But I would love to know. I mean, the most interesting out there is there's actually not that many options for people like us. Now you can go get pickup trucks, but now a pickup truck is $48,000. And I don't feel like replacing 20 vehicles with $48,000 or $48,000 options. It's just something we don't need. And these vehicles do get used in a different way than if they were a personal vehicle. They do get used up. So, if you guys have any suggestions for vehicles, what I would love to do is find something in the 20s. I would like to find something either new or fairly new within 1 year. And that's the next sort of branch on the decision tree, which is, do you buy new? Do you buy used? And right now, the strategy generally is going for me. What I'm going to do is probably look for 6 month to 12-month used vehicles with something with about 20 to 25,000 miles on it for now, and see how they perform. I grew the last fleet with all used vehicles, and that's always been a good strategy just to keep it down. Now, what you do know then is your maintenance costs will go up. And that's another thing I tracked, which is, we end up paying, in 2022, we had give or take $3,500 a month in vehicle maintenance and things like that. In all of 2023, we ended up paying, and people always ask me what it costs to maintain the vans. Between the oil changes and the brakes and the basic maintenance, we're paying about $2,700 a month in maintenance for, and that's a lot of money. But when you have 20 vehicles that divided between that, it's only really about $100 a vehicle a month to get that. So between, a set of tires every couple of years, brakes, oil, things like that, it's not the end of the world. So that's what's going to be, that's what's on the horizon for us. I'm actually going later today to test out a bunch of vehicles just to get some feelings to my data. Let's see what we got here for. We just had to paint doors in a swimming pool black. We used Scuff Tough and it was beautiful. Even concrete cleaned off of them after we finished them. I'm going to have to do a sample table to see how that holds. Rick, did you use the satin or the semi-gloss? I would like to know. We've had that stuff in our shop for a while. Love it. I actually did my war room table in my new office up there in the Scuff Tough, and we did a bunch of coats on it. It was just awesome. So Tyler Frew, Pacifica is probably the next move for me. I figure it's an updated Caravan. It's exactly an updated Caravan, and that's how it works. So okay, let's get into some IG. Brian Struble, how's it going, my good friend here? Let's see. Let's hide this one here. Yeah, it's what we've done. Consistent payments. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. I've also looked into, commercial fleet management companies that'll deliver brand new vehicles to you, outfitted, and the maintenance is actually covered, obviously, for a higher payment. Brian Struble, what size ladders can you fit on the passenger minivan? So here's the deal. We bought the last van that we outfitted. Well, we've done this with all of them, but there's about a $270 rack option. That was just a beautiful rack, super heavy build, kind of industrial use like that. Looked pretty sleek too. We had all of our vans converted to those. And I've personally loaded up probably 8 or 10 extension ladders, 40, 32, 28, 24, 20, 16, 8-foot chicken ladders, all that on top, pressure washer, sprayers in back, and those things only slightly squat. Also, the roofs on those things are insanely rigid. So I have a mechanic in town that decided to take those roof rack installations on for me, and there's not a spot. These aren't commercial vans. They're not specifically made to have those roof racks on there, but he found some good mounting points, and it's not like we're buckling the roofs or dragging the bumpers. These things are super substantial. And honestly, I don't know that we've overloaded one. Like if you put 20 sheets of plywood in back, you're probably going to break something, but we don't do that. So it's pretty good here. So, all right. Rick Mixell, he was using semi-gloss. Absolutely, man. And what I like about like Scuff X and Scuff Tough is that stuff covers like a wall paint, but it's hard like enamel. Now, it's not the hardest like enamel. It's not the best covering, but it's a great combination of both of those things. So absolutely love that. Sounds good, everybody. All right. Fleet replacements. So in the next step when fleet replacements is sort of interest rates, which is interesting. I've talked to my coach and mentor this week about the economy. And again, I start every one of these conversations with, I don't believe the economy is the only effect on my business. If we're doing good or bad, it's very easy to look towards externalities, not take ownership of your business and sort of blame, excuse, and deny those things. But I always say, if there's a problem, if our leads are up or down, if our revenue is up or down, if our profit is up or down, I think it's still within our control to fix all that stuff. So when we were talking about interest rates, though, right now the economy is kind of an interesting thing. And the bank president and my mentor sort of aligned with this, which was, it's not all data. A lot of the times consumer confidence is the thing that makes a recession, right? And so it's not always a hardcore economic indicator. Here we can turn. You want to be in there too, baby? Okay. So what's interesting, when consumer confidence goes down, or when consumers even think that there might be a recession or a downturn, they will stop spending money, and rightly so, sort of like stash it away. And that can mean a downward. I don't want to say downward. It may make it harder to get leads. It may make it harder to sell a job. Your average job size may go down even slightly. And it's really tough to tell. When a smaller painting company has work and then has nothing, I still think that's a product of your ability to reach out and create jobs. I don't think the economy has effect on a single person company like that. where it would make them have lots of work or not. I just don't think that's how it works, right? You only see that stuff in the margin. But the bank president and the mentor all agreed that, interest rates are sort of like, historically, they're very low. They're at 7 or 8% right now, but they're higher than they've been, 2 to 3%. I mean, I have loans out there too that are in the twos, right? And so we kind of have that like benchmarked in our head that, oh my God, it's 3.5 times bigger than the interest rate was before. But harken back to like the 80s when interest rates were 18 or 20% and people were buying entire farms back then. I mean, you want to talk about scary. That's scary. So if anything, if the economy has any effect right now, it's typically that people are like, well, it's uncertain. We may go into a recession. And so I may just pull back a little bit. So the weird, the weird economic indicator that the economic indicator that I'm looking at now are things that my company creates. And that's the data that I trust, because, you'll get people like Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan talk about, hey, every 7 years, we'll go through a recession. Well, we're on year 15, right? And I don't know that we've hit a recession. In a recession in the way that we feel it, right? There's a whole bunch of weird other things that we talked about too, which is like commercial office space. Vacancies are through the roof, but it's not headline news, right? And it doesn't feel like it's this cataclysm where if there was a whole bunch of joblessness or there was a bunch of home foreclosures, that would all be like frontline news. And the bank president was saying, well, basically, these are companies that are just writing stuff off in their balance sheet. It's not like people are losing jobs. Employment is actually pretty full right now, 2 to 3% unemployment. Mentor then chimed in and said, well, that's not really measuring the people who have given up or aren't searching for work too. So there could be a whole silent like that, the iceberg below the water of people who have dropped out. And if you add them in, I mean, we could be talking about, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% unemployment, which would be recession-ish sort of things. Now, I bring this up because I pay attention to it. It's interesting, but I don't think it has an effect directly on my day-to-day operation of my business. And I'm certainly not going to use it as an excuse for why something is working well or not well, right? There's things that in aggregate will help. There's things in aggregate that will hurt. But if you're using that as your sole focus, I would urge you not to. I would urge you not to. The one thing that I've been looking at over the last couple of years is the teeter-totter of, to oversimplify our entire industry, is we'll likely experience one of two things at any time. Jobs are going to be easy to get and labor is going to be hard to get, or labor is going to be easy to get and jobs are going to be hard to get. One of those things. And when I say easy and hard, it's relative. It might only be slightly easier and more hard. That's oversimplified, but it is what I'm seeing in the industry, which is about 2 to 3 years ago, I started hearing the chatter online. I started seeing some data in my company that just was like, well, jobs aren't falling from the sky. The average job size is down a little bit. I'm starting to get more organic leads for people asking to work for me too. And this is really exacerbating right now. So what I'm seeing now is I'm getting 3 to 4 people going to my website, filling out an application, looking for full-time work, not just summer work, full-time work. I don't have any job ads out there right now. This is a lot. I slogged it through in all those years where literally I had to go out there and basically, trip net people into applying for my company. It was very costly. There's super tons of time. What I'm seeing now is the people looking for work is going way up on an anecdotal level, way up. Also, it is getting a little more expensive to get leads into your company. Now, I put like 7 asterisks over this because I've been going through some pretty extreme marketing experiments over the years. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit of data here because I've been tracking a bunch of stuff to kind of keep an eye on this stuff, just so if we can make micro adjustments, we can. And what I'm seeing is that we aren't seeing spikes in spring leads anymore. But I have to tell you this is that it's likely not because of the economy. It's likely because I used to do some pretty extreme winter marketing experiments that were very costly. And I think it created some pent up demand. So in years past, we used to get spikes of 75, 80 leads a week. And now we'll see 45 to 50, give or take. But the good part is, that also you got to track my sophistication of marketing and the professionalization of my company. Everything, the mark of a professional company is consistency, not extremism. So basically what we do is The longer I do this, the more consistent we get at everything: the quality of work, the pace of work, the seasonality, the marketing, and then the leads. So now what I'm not seeing is crazy spikes anymore because of these wild experiments I've been doing. What I'm seeing now is a nice steady flow of leads here. So I track leads for the last 4 years on here. I track marketing spending for the last 4 years here. And the good part is that we have never, the one cool graph I can show you guys is, hey baby. All right. We'll see you in a little bit. Let's see. Where is my, there we go. So the most interesting thing is we're not having these spikes in leads, but our cost per lead is at a about a 3-year low right now, which is great. That was the goal of my marketing, to do less marketing, more leads, lesser price. So honestly, the trend that I'm seeing over my marketing here, as I don't know what the economy is doing right now. If I'm being honest, I don't think it has any effect on this. I will tell you that my marketing has all the effect in the world on this, which is the last time I saw leads this cheap was back in 2021. It was a very unintentional time of marketing. It's one of the times where I really started getting my feet under me for marketing. And then I started a 2-year series, about a 2.5-year series of some very expensive marketing experiments. I tried everything. I gathered the data. We saw leads grow to $87 a lead, and then $102 a lead. And now what I learned from last year, we redid our marketing and we are getting better leads. We're getting more consistent leads, and we're back down to $64 a lead, which we haven't seen since 2021. So when you guys have seen all my marketing master's classes around the country, this is the thing that I was out there preaching, which is there is a way where you can just throw money at it and hope people solve it for you. And that was my 2-year arc of, are these people good at, are there people out there who are going to solve this for me? The answer is no. You have to do it yourself. And so what I did is I just leaned into it hard, and we took our cost of leads down by 40%. And we're running a larger company and growing than we were in all those past years. So that's the data I can share with you guys. It's actually a lot of fun to do this, that data to the feelings. Because right now, if I only had feelings, you could lead yourself to believe that the sky is falling. The news has nothing good to say about the economy. It has nothing good to say about consumers. It says consumers are just pissed off. They're angry. There's no jobs. Houses are too expensive. Food is through the roof. And so you think, well, why even have a company then? But if you divorce yourself from all that and say, great, that's one data point. It's over there. It's feelings based for the most part. Yes, maybe food is more expensive. Maybe a mortgage is 7 instead of 2, but maybe 2 was ultra cheap and we were lucky. And maybe 7 is where it should be, the average, the normal, things like that. Maybe we should feel a little more grateful for the things we have now, because the guys down at the VFW will remind me that they bought farms at 18%, give or take. So that's the data I can give you. Let's look through another couple of these. Tyler Frew's got to go. John Giles. When jobs are falling from the sky, everyone is busy and working. When jobs are not falling from the sky, everyone's looking for a job. Yep, it's really interesting. So I've seen a long arc of this where sometimes home service based companies will delude themselves into thinking that because they're busy in the summer, they've somehow solved business. I'm here to tell you that what I know about this industry is that there is not enough house painters. There's definitely not enough professional house painters. There's not enough summer. And you can be a pretty raggedy Ann and Andy business. You can be a real loose business, really unprofessional, not even paint that well, and you can have a full schedule in summer. Then it gets a little tighter in winter. And your ability to do very good work and give people a great experience will then build your word of mouth repeat referral, which will then allow you to fill a winter, which will then allow you to hire people and things like that. So this is not me pushing back. This is not me getting spicy. This is me saying, these have been thoughts in my head early on. Like, hey, I hung my shingle out when I started my company and I immediately had a year's worth of work on the books. Like, oh, geez, I've solved this thing. Well, no, you didn't. It's not because of your excellence. It's because that there is not enough of us out there, professional home service companies for that thing. So that's not a bad thing. But you just have to allocate that success to what it is, which is demand-based success instead of your excellence and things like that. Now, you can bring your excellence up and then have a much easier time. And that's how we're able to keep all of our people busy all year round and do great productive work out there too. So that's just been a lot of fun. So, all right, I will take a look for any more last questions and comments. And then I am going to get on with my Saturday. Caldwell Painting, looks like you agree. You're getting tons of calls from people looking for work. And again, I think we're on a teeter-totter flip. And I don't know if it's going to be major. I don't know what's going to be minor. But if we have jobs and we have labor, sometimes jobs are easy and labor is harder. Sometimes labor's easy and jobs are harder. And sometimes the teeter-totter will only go like this. And sometimes the teeter-totter will go like this. The average paint company goes out of business every 18 months. My business has been around for 16 years. So basically, I have been around 10 times longer than the average painting company. I started in 2007 during the Great Recession. I have touched a recession in my time. 90% of all painting companies out there have never touched a recession out there. Now, I will say that I was way too young and inexperienced to realize and really take it in for what it was. But I will tell you this, I do remember it. And I do remember people with master's degrees lining up outside my business for work. And I do remember work being a little harder to get in the winter. So this is like the story of our life. And to oversimplify our entire industry and how the economy affects us is you're going to have to solve leads and labor. And you can try to get people to solve this for you. But I will tell you this, I don't know very many people who are effective in outsourcing, finding jobs and finding labor and doing it successfully or cheaply or both, things like that. So Aureli Soto, any master's classes training in the Atlanta area in the near future? I would love to. I've never done one in Atlanta. So there is actually in the show notes for this, Aureli, there is an email address for Marsha Bass at the PCA. If you connect me with your paint rep and you connect me with Marsha, what we can do is connect you and get you a master's class in your area. I think that would be an absolute lot of fun. I've not done one in Atlanta. I would absolutely love to. I'm not connected with very many Georgia painters, so I think that would be an absolute blast. So, all right. For final little questions. All right, guys, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for this today. I actually covered all my topics here. I'm going to go out and start exploring some more vehicles. And then, later this summer, I hope to start the fleet replacement plan. So, all right, everybody, last final request here is follow Ask a Painter and share this show. Get it in your feeds, get it in your stories, get it into the painters groups. Let's get some more people just like us out there. This is a lot of fun doing this with you guys. So, all right, everybody, enjoy the awesome week.